You know what? I missed you. I am Joy, the CBG lady. I am back with the Indiana hat with a brand new edition. I'm going to show you some of the most valuable, cheap tools that I have in my shop right here for making CBGs. And I will show you one of the most valuable tricks that I have found for making straight 90-degree holes in a piece of wood. Stay tuned. Can you tell my favorite color is orange? Oh my goodness. I even have an orange toolbox, for crying out loud. Okay, enthusiasts, to make a halfway decent CBG at home without a whole bunch of crazy expensive equipment, you are at least going to need some basic core tools. And we'll start with the saw, of course, right? We're cutting wood here. Now, not everyone has one of these, and it's not entirely necessary, but it's a great tool. This is a fret cutting saw. I actually have a miter box that I use to make nice, straight, even fret cuts. A saw like this is also good for taking out basically the wood from your neck to go under the cigar box lid. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I have been on a neck building journey for the last week. See how this part of the neck is like chiseled out? Well, chisel is maybe the wrong word. I don't know, I get my terminology wrong all the time. But this part used to be flat, obviously. You can take a saw, cut down the depth that you want to cut. You can mark it on the sides here. And once you got so many tiny little cuts there, you take yourself a chisel and a hammer and you knock those pieces out. And that's how you get that nice kind of boat depth cut in there. And as you can see on the edges here, I've left it a little bit higher. And that's so that the lid of the cigar box will have somewhere to sit. And this deeper cut here, that's going to be the gap between the top of the neck itself and the lid of the cigar box, because you want that lid to be able to vibrate. Is that making sense? This right here, see that scarf joint? I was able to cut that nice and clean with a brand new miter saw I just bought with the proceeds from my last sale. I got it for 99 bucks at Harbor Freight. You can actually see it there behind me. I'll give you guys a close-up of that later on. If you can afford a miter saw, you guys, that will cut down, no pun intended there, but it will cut down the time that you spend cutting wood, so that, you know, if you're trying to make a business or at least just save time, it'll be like quite viable for you. Smaller tooth type saw. I use all these for just making nice fine cuts. A lot of times I'll use these to cut the notches out of the box itself, because you always want to cut slow. Cut less than you need to, and then file the rest of the material out. Trust me, you don't want to cut too far and then now you got a hole too big in the box to hold the neck. Next tool will be quite valuable to you. The carpenter's angle thingy. Now, you're always going to be wanting to cut and make, you know, straight lines across a long neck. And this is the easiest, quickest way to make sure that those lines are completely perpendicular. Trust me, it'll save you a lot of time. Clamps. Have as many of these as you can get. Now, this is the short version. I've got two long ones that actually hold a makeshift table on top of my working table that I put a little cheap clamp on from Harbor Freight again. But these, you know, anytime you're gluing pieces, when you're gluing heels to necks, this part here, this bottom part had to be glued to this top part. Anytime you're going to be wanting to do that, you're going to need clamps to hold that glue and hold those pieces in place until that glue sets. These small spring-loaded clamps I've found are very helpful, especially if you're working with a cardboard cigar box and you want to reinforce it with pieces of wood in the corner. I found that these are great. Put your glue on the piece of wood, stick it in the corner of the box, and clamp it with one of these. I found that to be super handy. Rulers. Get yourself a yardstick. Yes, a full yardstick. You will need this because depending on what sort of cigar box or what size, you're always going to need to cut that neck to a certain length. And when you can just easily find, hey, I need it to be 26 inches or 33 and a half, this is going to be something that you will absolutely need. And when you need to do shorter measurements, get yourself just a 12 inch. Just a 12 inch. When you want to do shorter measurements and you don't feel like having this flopping all over the place. Files. Oh. Now this right here is a wood rasp. You see this really coarse side? Look how hard it is for my finger to even slide down. Now I use this to shape my necks, to make the back nice and rounded so that it'll be comfortable to play against the hand. I'll use this sort of heavy-handed side of it for forming, and then I'll use the smoother edge here to get all those kind of shreds out of the wood, and then from there I'll go to the sandpaper. Now I found that I only need 3 grades of sandpaper. I start out with 80, then I move up to 120, and then I move up to 220, and I finish it with 220. You probably won't need any more than that, at least if you're a beginner like me. Now the next file that comes super handy is this completely rectangular file. And the reason this comes in handy is that this is going to give you these nice clean steps. This is going to make your angles just nice and straight, which is kind of what you're, well, which is exactly what you're looking for when you're really trying to get these to fit right inside of the box. And the last file that I found came super handy was this one right here. It's a rounded one. It's about maybe a little bit less than a 1/4 inch across. And this comes in handy for me because I use screws as the nut at the very far end of my fretboard. And I found that taking one of these will give me a nice, even half circle dip into that fretboard that my screw can fit nice and snug in. And I got this as a 14 pack from Harbor Freight again. This handle comes off and you can put it on other pieces of file, but this is one of the ones that I've found to be the most effective and useful, at least in my little garage here. Protection. Safety is paramount. If you've ever worked in any sort of shop, engine room, anywhere you're working with heavy machinery and stuff, guys, ladies, you can lose your eye in 2 seconds, but you know, that job's going to hire somebody else, but you're going to be without your eye for the rest of your life. Don't let that be you. Hearing protection, critical. I have a circular saw. I've got the miter saw here now. I use drills, and you want to protect your hearing. safety goggles. These are not safety goggles. You see this right here? You know what can fly right in between there and put my eye out? Practically anything. And it doesn't have to be you. You can have old Skippy over there doing work across the shop. Something will fly off of his piece of equipment and it'll hit you in the eye. This is safety equipment, something that comes around to wrap and protect the side of your eyes too. Now this last little concoction will guarantee that you can make nice 90-degree perpendicular drills into your headstock for tuning pegs or whatever you're gonna work with. Don't go buy an expensive tool for this, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself 2 pieces of scrap wood from your neck, glue them together, and glue them together like this. See how we've got the 90-degree cut right there? Okay, now I'll tell you exactly what this is for. When you are drilling holes in your headstock, don't make the same mistake that I did. You want to be able to drill straight down into here. And if you're trying to do that freehand, sometimes you can get it a little bit crooked, and then when you try to install your tuning pegs, the back end that you screw in is going to be off kilter like that, and you're going to have trouble. So like I said before, you guys, I was able to pick up this miter saw for 99 bucks at Harbor Freight. It's just a 7 1/4 inch blade. Nothing too heavy duty. I'm not cutting a bunch of plywood and stuff like that. I'm not a full-time carpenter. But if you've got just $99 and you have your basic hand saws, your files, your safety equipment, sandpaper, and stuff like that, get yourself one of these. It is essential. You can cut yourself a 45-degree angle for the heels of your necks. You can cut it like that, or you can make a bevel cut like this. So you can turn the blade itself 45 degrees, make a bevel cut. The fence here moves backwards if you need it to. Let me show you how that's done. See that there? So if you were to have your base here angled at whatever degree and the bevel going sideways, you can make compound cuts. See that? You can straighten that back out, tighten in the back here. You'll put your blade down. There's a little locking pin on the side to keep your blade down if you want to travel with it and you don't want any damage done to it. And then you can loosen up the kind of bevel screw there. Move it back to 0 degrees. And now you can just cut your neck at whatever length, just straight across. Guys, these are fantastic. I didn't wear hearing protection there. Don't be me. I've got a young son here, so when I'm not working on this or with this, I like to lock it in place and unplug it. Okay, now like I said before, I've been working on a lot of necks lately. Necks, to me, are the most time-consuming part of building a CBG. And like I told you guys before, my son and I were out in the wilderness, well, at the waterfront, and we found a piece of driftwood that we actually incorporated into a neck that we're going to actually build for my son. And he's the one that found it in the water. So check that out. Look at that there. what we did was we took this piece here, we cut it flat so that we could glue it to the bottom of the neck there. And this light colored area that you see here, that is wood filler. So I took wood filler, filled that in, and what I tried to do was take some early American wood finish by Minwax, and I tried to get like an even color there. Obviously it didn't work out, but this wood filler is sand colored, so I could always get, you know, just a darker color of the wood filler if I wanted something like this to match better in the future. However, it might be interesting. It's actually going to be really interesting to make a guitar out of this. And with this front part here not being completely rectangular like most of my necks are, heels are, cutting that hole in the box, I'll let you guys know how that goes. Okay, so with this handy new miter saw, I've been able to cut scarf joints, like that. So right now I've got 3 different headstock cuts that I'm working on right now. Tell me, which one do you think is the best? I like the scarf joint personally, but you know, you guys let me know what you think. This is what I'm calling the L joint. Just kind of the basic, boom, right angle. Got 2 of the scarf joints here, pretty standard. These are both cut at about 15 to 13 degree angles. I can't tell you what it is exactly because I don't have a template built for cutting these out. I just basically held the thing basically like literally perpendicular across my miter saw. Here, I'll show you. I literally held the piece of wood, like basically like just like that, and then I just cut down. Not on this part, obviously, but on just a flat neck there. And it came out pretty good. I don't mind saying so myself. Okay, now my last cut is the most unusual, and I don't know, it might be the most controversial. I call it the duckbill cut. What do you guys think of that? Duckbill or hockey stick? I don't know. Cricket, maybe? I made this cut before I had the miter saw, and basically all I did was make a 45-degree cut in this piece of wood with my circular saw by hand. And since I couldn't make a straight cut perfectly by hand with that, I took the part of the wood that wasn't cut and I slapped that on rather than putting it opposite like you would with a regular scarf joint. And once I did that, then I just kind of filed it down and kind of angled it the best way that I could to make it look decent. I think this is still going to be interesting to make because look, see how deep this bend is from here down to here? And I don't even have the fretboard on yet. So add another basically 1/4 inch to the top here. So it's going to go all the way from here all the way down to here. I mean, the tuning pegs will be up a little bit, but that's going to be kind of interesting. I'll let you guys know how that goes. One thing I do love about my circular saw cuts is that it gives me this distinct U shape. See that U there? Oh my goodness, where is it? There it is. See that U? I just love that. It makes it look like I did it on purpose. Anywho, if you're liking the content here and you want to see more, hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. We're only on build 5 or 6 right now. Imagine what we're going to be at 50. I'll see you next time. CBG lady.